Okay, so I would say this is part two. Part two. Okay, and today we're going to learn something that no one has been taught before. It's called the difference quotient, okay? This is one of those things that I'm not going to tell you you'll enjoy it. That would be a lie, okay? And in the beginning, it's going to be like, whoa. But I promise you that there are complicated processes that you will learn in this year. And if you just do what I tell you to do, you'll be fine, okay? Everybody will learn it eventually. And that is, like, pay attention the first time. Don't freak out. We'll walk through it again. And then by the time tomorrow rolls around and you've done the homework and you've done the warm-up, you're literally going to be good. You just got to be careful because it's like a tedious process, okay? So it's called the difference quotient, and we'll use it now, and then we come back to it. So quick recap on yesterday, right? We talked about what a function is. We talked about how to determine if it's a function. Remember, the x can't repeat with a different y, and then equation-wise, the y can't be an absolute value. The y can't be raised to an even power. Everybody's good on that? Okay, then we talked about evaluating a function, which was plugging those values in. We did a piecewise function, and then we got into setting the equal to 0 solving, setting them equal to each other, and domain, okay? So after example 6, if you want to, you can either make it small on the side or if you want to insert a page there. I'm going to give you a couple just practice problems on domain because I feel like we could use it. So find domain of the function. Remember to put these in interval notation. So you can either take a picture of that or you can write it in your own notes, but I want you to try these while I take the attendance. All right, so if we're looking for a variable in the denominator, a variable under the root, or the combination of the two, is any of that happening in A? No, so what would I write there for my domain restriction? All real numbers, okay? Anything can get plugged into there. So all real numbers or negative infinity to positive infinity. B, now what's happening? Which of those three cases is there? There's a variable in the denominator, so this cannot equal 0. There's two ways. Oh, I think maybe I moved away from part. There's two ways to find this one. I could either factor it if you're good at or you prefer factoring the difference of two squares. Okay, x minus 1, or x plus 8 and x minus 8, and then neither of those can equal 0. So x cannot equal negative 8 or positive 8. Or I could have done x squared cannot equal 64, and then square root both sides, making sure I put that plus and minus. And I also get that it can't equal 8 or negative 8. So in interval notation, this is negative infinity to negative 8. Then negative 8, negative 8 to positive 8. Then 8 to positive infinity. So every time there's a not equals, I have to stop and start my domain or my interval notation. So I go negative infinity to the smaller one to bigger one to positive infinity. And anytime there's more than one parentheses, it gets that U. Questions on that one? All right, now in C, what are you looking at? Square root in the denominator and in the numerator, right? So in the numerator, it has to be greater than or equal to 0. So x would have to be greater than or equal to 3. And in the denominator, it cannot equal 0. It's got to be greater than 0. So x has to be greater than negative 5. And then if I put these both on the number line, because I need it to be true for both, it's got to be greater than or equal to 3, which would be a bracket on the 3 pointing to the right. And it's got to be greater than negative 5, which would be a parentheses on the negative 5 pointing to the right. And then we can only keep where the overlap happens because it has to be true for both of these. So I go from 3 to positive infinity with a bracket on the 3. If I plug in something between negative 5 and 3, okay, so let's just say I plugged in 0, it would work in the bottom, but it's not going to work in the top, and it has to work in both. Still good? Okay, and the last one, I've got a square root in my numerator, so that has to be greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0. And I've got a variable in the denominator, so it can't equal 0. So for my numerator, I get x, it has to be greater than or equal to 4. And in the denominator, I get it cannot equal 6. So for my numerator, it would just be everything greater than or equal to 4. But in my denominator, it can't equal 6. So it stops at 6. Every time I get a not equal, I have to stop and start my interval notation. So it's going to go from 4 to 6. But it can't include 6, so it gets a parentheses. And then I get a union. And I pick back up at 6, can't include it, so it gets a parentheses. And it goes to positive infinity. Questions? Everybody's good on domain. I feel like the rest of yesterday was pretty good. Like the, finding the function, all that stuff, determining if it is. Hopefully that's okay.
Why can't it include 6?
Because if I had 6, so like let's just say I said greater than or equal to 4. That's any number greater than or equal to 4. As soon as I plug 6 in here, I get 0 in my denominator, which makes it undefined. So if you actually graph this on, let's say on Desmos, it will show you the stop start. On your graphing utility, you'll see your graph and it will look like it passes through 6. But if you try to find where x is 6, it's going to be undefined. Like it doesn't have a y value. It would be, it's like a hole, okay? It would stop and start there. We good? Okay, so we're going to continue today with something called the difference quotient. At the end of the year, when we get into calc stuff, when we get into things like derivatives and that stuff at the end of the year, we'll come back to it, okay? This is what the difference quotient is, and it is something you have to have memorized. It is f of x plus h minus f of x all over h. And we'll break it down into its parts. So as a whole, it looks like it's a lot, but we'll break it down into its parts. The first thing we will do is f of x plus h. So it's going to give you what f of x is. It's going to say like f of x equals, let's baby step this, 2x minus 3. And then it's going to say find the difference quotient. So the first thing we're going to do is find the f of x plus h. If I had only asked you for that, if that was like evaluate, and I said find f of x plus h, what would you do? What if it had said f of 2? What would you do?
Equal to 2.
You would plug 2 in for the x, right? So if it's f of x plus h, what are you going to do? Good. We're going to put the x plus h where the x is. So this is 2 times x plus h minus 3. And then I would distribute the 2x plus 2h minus 3. And that is the x plus h part. So that takes the place of the first part. So I would get 2x plus 2h minus 3. The second thing I'm going to do is subtract from it f of x. Well, what's f of x this time? 2x plus 3, minus 3. So I'm going to do minus 2x minus 3. Then I'm going to distribute the sign. So I get 2x plus 2h minus 3 minus 2x plus 3. It's going to change the signs of everything that comes after it. And then all of this goes over h. H is a constant. It's going to stay there, okay? Your answer, well, you'll see in a second. We'll cancel it out. But it's going to stay there for now. Okay, now I'm going to combine my like terms. And if you've done this correctly, everything that doesn't have an h should cancel out. So 2x and negative 2x are going to cancel out. Negative 3 and positive 3 are going to cancel out. And I just get 2h over h. Then can I simplify that? Yep, so at the end, the h that's in the bottom should cancel out. And what's left this time is just 2. It's not always going to be a constant. It could be an expression, which you'll see in a second, okay? So we do it in 3 parts. F of x plus h, you take the x plus h, you plug it in, you simplify. You subtract from it the original f of x, change the signs, combine your like terms, everything that doesn't have an h should cancel out. And then the last thing we're going to do is put it over h and simplify. You should not have an over h at the end because your h should go into all the terms. So at the end, you're going to either get a constant like 2. You could get an expression like 2x minus 5, something like that, okay? But it depends on what your original f of x is. All right, do it again. So notice this time my f of x is raised to the second power. So it's a little bit more work, but it's the same 3 steps. I'm going to write the difference quotient, and so should you, so that you remember it. F of x plus h minus f of x all over h. I'm going to do the first part, which is f of x plus h. This time my f of x is x squared minus 2x minus 5. So this is going into this x and also this x. So I get x plus h squared minus 2 times x plus h minus 5. With me so far? Okay, so here's something that would be very good to memorize, x plus h squared. If you forget it or you're unsure, then I could go back to either foiling that out. So I could say x plus h times x plus h, and I could FOIL this out, x squared plus xh plus hx plus h squared. You don't need to do this. I'm just showing you. Plus 2xh plus h squared. This is what x plus h squared equals. Or you could have used your shortcut that we talked about when something's squared. And that is square the first term, square the last term. It's always a plus. Take the product of the two, which is xh, and double it. Or you can memorize it because you're going to have to use it a bunch, okay? So x plus h squared becomes x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. Then I'm going to distribute the negative 2, minus 2x minus 2h minus 5. That whole thing is f of x plus h. Now what are we going to do? What's the second part of the difference quotient? Subtract f of x, okay? So here's something. I'll show you this first thing. You don't need to do it, though, because I'm going to show you something else you could do. But what we could do here is say minus x squared minus 2x minus 5. And then I could distribute. So I'd get x squared plus 2xh plus h squared minus 2x minus 2h minus 5 minus x squared plus 2x plus 5. So I could put the f of x behind it, and then I could distribute it. Or I know I'm going to have to do that. So I could also, instead of doing the subtraction and distributing it, I could change the signs of each of these terms and put them vertically under the ones I know should cancel out. So the opposite of x squared would go under the x squared. Don't you start. I wrote negative x squared under x squared, okay? The opposite of negative 2x would go under the negative 2x. And the opposite of 5 would go under the 5. Now, these are going to cancel, these are going to cancel, and these are going to cancel. And remember I said if you do it right, then after that step, nothing that doesn't have an h should remain. So everything that's left should have an h. 2xh plus h squared minus 2h. Every term has an h on it. And what's the last step? Divide by h. So this is going to go into here, take away one of these, and go away from here. And this time my answer is 2x plus h minus 2. The f of x plus h part, right? is x plus h squared plus 3 times x plus h minus 2. And then x plus h squared is x squared plus 2xh plus h squared. I'm going to distribute the 3 plus 3x plus 3h minus 2. So that whole thing is the f of x plus h. Then I'm going to do the f of x, subtract the f of x. So minus x squared minus 3x plus 2. Cancels, cancels, cancels. And I get 2xh plus h squared plus 3h. And then the last thing I'm going to do is divide by h. So h cancels from all three spots, and I get 2x plus h plus 3. Good? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to play the announcements, and then I'll go back.